So for today's video, I want to talk about the DJI Pocket 4 Pro. I've had this camera for 2 weeks and I just want to talk about this camera from a perspective of a filmmaker. As somebody who likes to put cinematic visuals together and I've used different types of cameras, I feel like I have a unique perspective when it comes to this camera. So with this review, I want to break it down and approach it a little bit different. And I want to break it down into two categories. I want to talk about the good of this camera and I'll talk about the ugly, because as interesting as this camera was to work with, it's not a perfect camera. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I've had this camera for a little over 2 weeks now, and the first thing that jumped out at me with this camera is after giving it out to DJI, these cameras are just super easy to use, especially for somebody who's coming from using the Sony. The first thing that stands out obviously is just how easy it is to go into the settings and to kind of change things up, especially when I'm out there shooting stuff. I hate jumping into menu systems, but with the DJI right here, it's not really an issue and I can get things dialed in pretty quick in real time. The second thing that jumped out to me with this camera, and I think it's the biggest thing that jumped out to me, has to be this lens right here, that 3x lens. And oh my God, the 3x lens is a game changer when it comes to this camera. I think this camera might actually be, dare I say, the B-roll king. Because the amount of B-roll you're able to grab with that 3x lens, the quality of the shots you're able to get with this 3x lens right here is damn near perfection, damn near impressive. There's some shots that I was able to get with this 3x lens that had me look twice. I was like, this is like almost like full frame quality, or at least crop sensor type of quality, you know, especially if you're shooting from the shadow side and you're trying to get more of that cinematic look. My oh my, that 3x lens is definitely impressive, and I think I'm glad I got this camera instead of the Pocket 4, because that 3x does the damn job, and the level of compression you're able to get, smooth, nice bokeh in the background. And look, bokeh isn't everything, but I think it's always good to have the option. It's all about just having more options and tools that you can use with a camera like this that kind of like sets it apart. It's also put me in the position to where I was thinking, hey, you know what? If I go on a trip, I can actually leave my Sony behind. I don't really need my Sony. I can use my phone to take pictures, you know? But if I'm just trying to capture like footage and still trying to give it a little bit of that extra professional quality, then definitely the DJI Pocket 4 Pro is for you. Now, no glaze. I'm not gonna glaze. Like I said, it's not a perfect camera, but I'm gonna reserve some thoughts when it comes to these two lenses in the bad section of this video. 17 stops of dynamic range. The thing about dynamic range is it gives you the ability to shoot cinematically, the ability to shoot from the shadow side if you're trying to get a cinematic image. And if you go with any camera that's like a pocket-sized camera, from what I've seen in the past, you're not gonna get a lot in the shadows when you're shooting from the shadow side. Your blacks are gonna be crushed. It's not gonna be a lot of information you can retain unless you use a camera with a bigger sensor. So it's impressive how a camera with a 1-inch sensor is able to capture footage that is almost equivalent to a professional cinema camera. Of course, it's not a pro cinema camera, but for what they're able to put in this small camera, definitely really impressive. It's very much pro. That's why I had to dress up like a professional for this review. As far as low light goes, the camera is always going to be limited by the sensor size, right? You can only do so much with a 1-inch sensor as far as like being able to get light in, but I think the camera has done a decent job so far. And I think if you're somebody who doesn't really care about color grading and you're not like me, I think even the low light mode in this camera is brilliant. How the chip in this camera is able to dial everything in to get a bright image is also impressive too. So in situations where I'm just trying to grab like stuff for social media and behind the scenes stuff, I think using the low light mode works. But of course, if you're trying to do anything from the perspective of more professional cinematic type of work, I think you're gonna run into some problems with this camera when it comes to low light. There are some shots where I was like, okay, you definitely don't want to go too high in ISO, because noise is going to be introduced. Like I said, it's got a 1-inch sensor on the main lens here, and an even slightly smaller sensor on the 3x. So that's just something you have to keep in mind. I think you have to work with this camera to be able to get what you want to get out of it. So slow-mo 4K, you know, we're maxed out at 60 frames per second in D-Log-M. And I think if you want to do 120, you got to go into the slow-mo mode, right? Then you lose the ability to get that D-Log-M and color grade and stuff like that. So it's there if you want it. For me personally, I probably wouldn't use 120 slow-mo. But I think it's fun to have the option, especially if you have like a pet and you're trying to capture like some cool footage. So I think that's like something that is interesting, and that's something that's good to have as an option. That's what I'm trying to say. Downtown Hartford, I'm at Bushnell Park testing out the DJI Pocket 4P. The name is long. It's a long name, man. It's like, I feel like whenever I'm saying the name of the DJI Pocket 4P, I have to think, because it's like, these camera names are long as hell, yo. But I'm just testing out the, you know, tracking again, you know, with the DJI mic. I guess the cool thing is with the DJI mic, you can walk all the way and the camera will follow you, and, you know, you can play hide and seek. You can, you know, play peekaboo. We're just doing this in real time just to show you guys the tracking of this camera. And, you know, like right here, I'm behind this pillar right here. Boom, okay, it caught me, you know what I'm saying, caught me. I'm gonna walk behind the pillar again. Boom, as soon as I pop out on the other side of the pillar, it kind of like catches me. So, I mean, it does a good job, so I can't really complain. And this is like at 3x. This camera does not come with a hard case. DJI, what the hell is going on, man? The Insta360 Luna, it has a case, right? The only thing this camera came with, because I got the standard version, was this little light, which is cool, you know, in a pinch, and this little thread thing right here. Would have been nice to have a case, because the biggest anxiety I have, or the biggest thing that held me back from buying these type of cameras, is this little gimbal, this little flimsy big head right here. There are times when I'm like, yeah, I want to take this out to the pool, I want to take this out here and there, and I'm like, I don't know, you know, I need to get a case first. You know, it's a little too risky. That was a miss by DJI, not having a case for this right here. DJI, this camera, for all the benefits that this camera has with having the 2 lenses, the different size sensors is kind of a miss. I'm not gonna lie. The fact that, you know, we have to like do updates, and then you zoom in and then the footage changes, and it's just like, I can't do like professional zoom shots with this camera, because at some point the exposure is gonna change. And that was an update, but from what I see in D-Log, there are times where I was like, whoa, okay, that looks a little jarring, that looks different. If I'm trying to put together some type of professional work, I'm trying to shoot a wedding, I'm trying to like make like a little freaking commercial or whatever, and then that happens, people are gonna be like, whoa, 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 what's going on there? It's gonna stick out as a sore thumb. So I'm telling you, if DJI had 2 1-inch sensors, who knows? Maybe they'll put it in the DJI Pocket 5 Pro. But until then, I'ma hold it against this camera. This camera could have been the GOAT of pocket cameras if it had 2 1-inch sensors. Both 17 stops of dynamic range. Which leads me into the next knock on this camera, is the fact that you can only have a D-Log 2 or the 1 sensor. Oh my God. DJI, what's going on, man? You know, I hate it when companies, they make the camera, right, close to perfect, but then they're like, we can't make it too perfect. We gotta save some for the next iteration. So I don't know if that's the game plan for these camera companies, to be like, okay, we'll make it good, but we ain't make it too good now. We gotta save some for the next camera that we're making. The fact that you can't use D-Log 2 on the 3x sensor was like the biggest fumble ever, man. Which leads me into another freaking knock on this freaking camera. This camera is like almost perfect, but there are just certain things that just kind of like, when you start using it, you're like, come on, man. When you're using D-Log 2, you can bring your ISO all the way down to 100, which is good for if you're in bright lighting. You're able to get everything dialed in good. But then when you switch to the 3x lens and you want to use like a regular D-Log, right? Because of course you can't use D-Log 2 on this lens, the 3x, which I love. You can only bring it down to ISO 400. Now you gotta get stronger NDs just to be able to. It's like you're almost there, DJI, but you're holding back. Another thing is, there really is no way to rack focus. I guess you could tap to focus on the little tiny screen, but I would like maybe not necessarily racking focus, even though if this camera could rack focus, that'd be great. I think being able to lock focus, because the one thing that sets many cameras from amateur cameras is the ability to have control to where you're focusing. So there's some shots that I'm able to get with like the Sony or even, I mean, any older camera, to where you can just kind of like put it to manual focus and then you can lock the focus. And if I'm trying to have like a creative shot where, you know, the background is in focus and I'm out of focus because I'm trying to emphasize on maybe the scenery, you can do that with this. So it's good at tracking whatever's in the frame, but you don't have that creative flexibility. I think that's a negative, but it's not a deal breaker for me. But it's just something I thought about when I was trying to get some creative shots going. The biggest knock this camera has is the fact that you can't buy it in the United States. I mean, you can, but you have to go through eBay and third parties. And I know for a lot of people, that's a big deterrent. Yeah, I think that's the biggest disadvantage this camera has, is the fact that a lot of people just can't get their hands on this camera. And people like me who are crazy enough to like go on eBay and buy it from a seller online in China, we're the only ones willing to take the risk, because anything could have happened when I ordered this camera. You know, I could have been scammed out of my money. And also for some people, it also affects the, you know, people don't know like the warranty issues and stuff like that. And it comes back to the whole idea of like why they didn't have a case for this camera, because if I break this camera, I don't know what happens after that. Is the risk worth it? Maybe, maybe not, who knows? Let me know in the comments if you feel like this camera is worth risking it for over the Luna. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think I'm gonna leave it on that note. Hopefully you enjoyed the review, and I appreciate you tuning in, and as always, thanks for watching.